If you shoot video with an X-T5 or an XS20 or any other Fujifilm camera, you may wonder, what about a gimbal? Well, that is exactly what we're talking about today. Hi everyone, welcome to Pal to Tech. Today we're talking about the brand new Zhiyun WEEBILL 3S gimbal. I'll show you the new features on this gimbal, and we will also go over connecting Fujifilm cameras to it, and I will also include a special segment on how to best balance the gimbal and why you need to do so. Zhiyun did send over this WEEBILL 3S gimbal so that I could test it out with the Fujifilm X-T5. However, they did not sponsor this video, nor did I allow them any input as to its content. In fact, they have not seen this video until right now when it's been published for all of you. The new WEEBILL 3S is actually sort of an upgrade from the original WEEBILL 3. So the main changes in this new version are a redesigned grip handle that now rotates out sideways. They also added a detachable quick release plate right from the bottom. There's now an ability on the gimbal itself to switch into vertical video format really quickly. And the wrist rest is now thicker and it's more stable. Besides ergonomics, Zhiyun also added additional torque to the motors. The goal of more torque is obviously to allow for heavier cameras with less micro jitters. In fact, there is so much torque, I'd have no problem going out with a 150 to 600 millimeter zoom lens. Okay, I'm joking. You definitely do not want to put a lens like this on a gimbal like this. The WEEBILL 3S comes either as a standalone gimbal or as part of a combo kit. Now, besides the gimbal itself, you get various tripod mounting plates, screws, a lens attachment, grip handle arm, and a tripod. All of this comes inside a large black duffel bag with two separate compartments. And interestingly, the bag itself can also be worn as a backpack. The gimbal itself does weigh about 2.3 pounds, and that does include the batteries. You get about 9 hours of battery life on a single 2-hour charge using the included USB-C cable. And I love the fact that you can completely recharge the gimbal in about 2 hours. On the gimbal itself, to the right of the LCD screen, you've got a menu button, a command dial button, and the power button. On the older model of the WEEBILL 3, the power button was located right here, and man, it is so much easier now to use the power button on the 3S because it's located right here at the top with very easy access to either hand. On the left, you've got your record button, mode button, and a custom joystick. The back of the gimbal has an adjustment wheel as well as a trigger button. There's a USB-C charging port on the left side, as well as a USB-C port on the tilt axis mechanism that's used to connect to your camera's USB-C port. And on all three of these rotation points, you've got a locking mechanism. And another really great benefit about the locking feature is you can lock all of the pieces kind of compact like this, and it folds up nice and compact and makes a very good travel gimbal. These locking mechanisms make balancing the gimbal very easy for beginners. We're going to get to that in a bit. You also might want to install the Zhiyun app. It's not a very polished app, but it does have some calibration features that I think you'll find handy. Also, with some Fujifilm cameras, such as the X-H2, you can actually save and review photos from the gimbal to the app. Not RAW files, though, JPEGs. Overall, regarding the app, I do see potential for it in the future if they can improve some of the usability of it. Keep in mind that you can adjust all kinds of settings right here on the LCD screen on the gimbal. I found it works very well. Because it swivels out this way, you can now hold the gimbal in both hands, and of course you've got this wrist support as well. And because you can adjust it up or down using this knob right here, basically you can lock your hand, right? You see that? Just like that. So between that and then holding it just like this, it really gives you that extra stability. When you're out shooting, because of the new quick release on the bottom, you can quickly remove this entire wrist rest and handle in a matter of seconds. The gimbal actually comes with its own built-in light right here on the front. It's controlled by this wheel right here. Rotating the wheel right or left increases or decreases the intensity of the light. If you press in on the wheel, you can switch it to color temperature mode. Also new on the WEEBILL 3S is a quick way to switch the camera from portrait mode to vertical 16:9 mode. And now the camera is ready to shoot vertical video. You can use any Fujifilm camera you want, plus the lens on the gimbal as long as it's not too heavy. If you go to the official Zhiyun website, you look at the supported cameras for Fujifilm, you'll only see 4 of them there currently. And that's because those are the only 4 cameras that are actually supported by this gimbal if you want to control your camera using the controls on the gimbal. And more importantly, at the bottom right here, you'll see a list of officially supported lenses. I found in my testing that you can put a lot more lenses than what are on this chart. For example, I've got the 10 to 24 millimeter right here. There is one feature that this gimbal has, unfortunately, that is not supported by any Fujifilm camera, and that is the Bluetooth connection to the camera to be able to control the camera using only Bluetooth. Let's briefly talk now about connecting your Fujifilm camera to your gimbal. The first thing you're going to want to do is go into your camera menu settings where it says connection mode and change it to USB tether shooting auto. As far as focus is concerned, if you're brand new at using gimbals, I would set it to AFC on the camera. Before you actually attach your camera to the gimbal, make sure that you have your lens already on the camera. And the reason for this is that the size and the weight of the lens will determine what type of mount you use when you attach the camera to the gimbal. For example, if I'm using the 35mm f2.0 prime lens, then I can get away with just using this one plate. And the reason for that is because if the camera with the lens is sitting right on the plate, which is mounted and attached to the gimbal, you can still focus and turn the aperture ring. However, if you're using a larger lens, like say the 16 to 55mm zoom, you'll see that there's no space whatsoever to rotate the focus ring, and that's why in cases like this, you can turn to the other mounting plate that does come with the gimbal, and then you simply attach one on top of the other. So now when you mount the camera straight to the gimbal with both of these mounts, you will see that you now have plenty of space to rotate the focus ring or the aperture ring. Once you've done that, you can now connect the USB cord from the gimbal to the camera. On the gimbal, simply plug it right into this yellow area right here, and then plug it right into the USB-C port of your camera. Now, every time you turn on the gimbal, you need to be sure that all 3 of these points right here, roll, tilt, and pan, are unlocked, okay? Then go ahead and turn on the gimbal. You'll see the LED screen light up, and the camera becomes steady. You see that right there? I'll go ahead now and start the camera recording by using only the gimbal and pressing the red button. And as you can see, it's now recording. When I want to stop, simply press the button again. You can also half press down the button just like this to set autofocus. You see that? Now, I'm not going to get into all the controls on the gimbal, shooting with the gimbal and all the different modes and that sort of thing. If you would like me to cover those topics, please let me know, and I will definitely make future videos on this. One thing I do need to tell you, if you are using the Zhiyun WEEBILL 3S with a Fujifilm camera, if you notice that it says ISO right on the LED screen, but you can't seem to control ISO and nothing that you're doing is working, go into the camera menu settings and go into Movie Optimized Control and turn it on. Now, when you rotate the rear control wheel on the gimbal, you can see that I can change the ISO in the camera. You see that right there? And of course, don't forget to take your camera out of Movie Optimized Control if you normally don't use that and you're done using the gimbal. I want to show you one final little tip for this gimbal. If you want to adjust the position of the camera a little bit, if you try and normally do it, it snaps back. You see that in some modes, right? So with the WEEBILL 3S and the WEEBILL 3, if you move the camera in any direction but hold it like that, the gimbal will then orientate and lock itself to the position that you want to have the camera. Like this. See? Like this. See? But don't do it quickly, right? You got to do it, hold it like that. Overall, there is a lot to love about this gimbal. It is long-lasting on a single battery charge, it's compact, and it is easy to use, and it has excellent ergonomics. I would very much like to see more support for Fujifilm cameras that's on par with the same level of support for Sony and Canon. As I said before, you can use just about any Fujifilm camera, most of the lenses. However, if you want the more advanced features where you're using the red button to start the record, autofocus, then you have to see the list of cameras that are on their website. and I will leave a link to that list down in the description of this video. In the meantime, from a what you need in a gimbal perspective, I think the WEEBILL 3S absolutely nails it, even if they don't fully support all of the electronic connections with Fujifilm cameras. For those of you completely new to gimbals, think of a gimbal as a supercharged device that is designed to give you the ability to hold your camera steady. Most gimbals have 3 different rotation points that are controlled by 3 separate motors. The first one is called tilt. So think of tilt as tilting forward or backwards. Roll is the second one. So just think of roll as going from one side to the other, just like this. For our third and final movement, panning. And this is panning. You see that? Most gimbals, including this one, also work together with all 3 types of rotation in different modes. And you set these modes using the control pad on the gimbal. And they're called things like follow mode or POV mode. I'm not going to go into all the different modes because this is not really the video for that. Once you get the camera on the gimbal, that is the next step you take, is to learn each of those modes and how to use them. We are now going to talk about the single most important part of using a gimbal, and that is balancing. This next segment was made specifically for my backstage members, particularly Mr. Jarble. Thank you all for your support. If you've not yet checked out Backstage, what are you waiting for? Go check it out and see if it's something you'd be interested in at paltotech.com/backstage. But don't do it now. We got to talk about balancing first. The reason you want to balance in the first place is because if the camera is not balanced on the gimbal properly, say it's leaning too much this way, the motors on the gimbal itself are going to be struggling to keep that camera level. And the more they struggle, the more jitters appear in your footage. You don't want that, okay? That would ruin your day. So to get started, you need to find a level surface and put down the gimbal like that. Obviously, you want the light to be facing forward and you want the Zhiyun logo facing you on the back. Go ahead and then lock all 3 axes like this. Think of that as the starting position. For today's demo, I'm going to be using the X-T5 with the rather large and heavy 16 to 55 millimeter zoom lens. And that will require both mounting plates. Make sure that you have your lens already on your camera, and if you're using filters, say a ND filter, have that on the camera as well. You want to have all of the weight, right, that you're going to be using already on the camera. You will see 2 little lock adjustment levers right here. The one on the right is what you use to actually take this base off. We don't want to do that. You want to leave it on and basically lock it kind of right there for now. Take the camera and slide it right in. Now, if you're finding that the camera won't slide in, that's because you have this base plate facing the wrong direction. Turn it around. I've made that mistake a million times. Go ahead and slide the camera in just like this, and then lock it using the lock switch just like that, and it'll stay locked into place. Now that your camera is mounted onto the gimbal, it is time to balance. There's 4 separate adjustments that you need to make when you're balancing a camera to a gimbal. Pan, roll, and then 2 of them for tilt. We're going to start with tilt. Before we unlock and start balancing the tilt, make sure that you are holding on to the camera because it may go falling forward, all right? I'm going to unlock it now. You don't want that to happen and have your lens hit the gimbal. So just have your hand there holding it. Now, as you can see, it's plummeting forward. Like if I hold it up like this and let go, it drops forward. It's not supposed to do that. It's not balanced. So what you want to do to balance the tilt is loosen up this switch right here. Then slide the camera backward. You see that? Well, too far that way. So you want to push it forward a little. Too far that way. Push it forward some more. Up, too far. Back. It's kind of a forward and back thing. Once you can get it to stop moving either forward and backward on its own, it doesn't really move. There we go. Balanced. If you're noticing that you're running out of space, in other words, you've got the camera as far back as you can, but you need to pull it back further, what you're gonna most likely have to do is take the camera off and make an adjustment to this plate right here and slide this further back. So now we're gonna make the second adjustment to the tilt, and that is the vertical balance. Turn the camera so that it's like this, okay? And if you let go, obviously it's not balanced. So now what you wanna do is adjust this lever right here. You see that? It's located right below the light on the front of the gimbal. Go ahead and loosen it like that. And when you do, you'll notice you can push it forward or back. You see that? And what you want to do is the same thing as before, move it forward or backward until the camera stays still. Go ahead and lock it. And now you should be able to turn the camera like this. And more or less, it's pretty stable here and it's pretty stable there. That is a balanced tilt axis. So go ahead and lock the tilt axis right there and unlock the roll axis. Remember to hold on to the camera before you unlock the roll axis, because boom, you see that? As you can see, it's not balanced. The roll is rolling when we don't want it to. We want it to stay still. So to adjust the roll axis, what you want to do is adjust the lever right here. It's underneath the mounting plate. You see that? I'm going to go ahead and loosen it, and then you can slide the camera, you see, side to side like that. The more I slide it this way, whoops, too far. Almost. There we go. That's balanced. Once you've got the roll balanced, go ahead and lock it into place, okay? And finally, we're gonna do pan. First thing you wanna do, obviously, is unlock the pan right here, which then causes the camera to pan side to side, right? And this is what kind of makes it a little confusing. It's unlocked and the camera's not moving. Does that mean it's balanced? No, it doesn't. It's a little bit different when adjusting balance on the pan. You pick up the gimbal, okay? And then what you do is you tilt it slightly. The minute I start to tilt it, camera falls back. Okay, that's what you gotta watch for. And you adjust it with this lever right here. You see that? And that moves this whole thing out. So again, testing it. Too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the adjustment using this right here. Again, tightening it, lifting, tilting. That's not too bad, actually. So if I tilt it this way, I should be able to kind of move the camera and have it stay in position. Look at that. And if your arm gets tired of like holding it like this, you can simply rest it like this with the tripod collapsed, and I can go ahead and rotate the camera and it stays in place. So at this point, it should be completely balanced. However, you might want to check that tilt balance one last time just to be sure, because you've made a lot of adjustments since then. And what I like to do is unlock now everything, okay? Unlock, unlock, unlock. Oh, it's perfect. The entire gimbal is unlocked, right? And it's staying in the same place. A properly balanced gimbal is one that has a camera not moving and just sitting there motionless, even if you have all three of these unlocked, just like that. At this point, you can go ahead and turn on the gimbal and you're good to go. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to go over here with all of the different controls, the joystick, which moves the camera around, the different modes that it has, and so forth. But that is definitely a subject for a dedicated video, which I'm happy to do. Just let me know. I will leave you with one final little useful tip. If you find that the camera's like in the wrong place, if it's like really weird and just not right, if you double click this trigger button, that will reset the camera forward. Okay, watch this. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you found the video helpful or at least entertaining. And if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. I'm going to be signing off now, but have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in a new video next week. Take care.